Way back in the 16-bit days, Thunder Force was a huge name in the genre. Yeah, things were a bit iffy with Thunder Force 2, but Thunder Force 3 and 4 were pristine examples of what could be done with shooters, offering tight, flexible control and a decent challenge, not to mention some awesome weapons. And wouldn't you know it, all of these great qualities would make it into Thunder Force 5 as well. Originally released in Japan on the Sega Saturn, it would later be ported to the PlayStation with the subtitle Perfect System. Get it? PS? PlayStation? In all honesty though, when it comes straight down to it, Sony's PlayStation isn't exactly a shoot-'em-up powerhouse like the Saturn was. When you consider the era that it was released and how many shoot-'em-ups were being released in arcade and on the Saturn, with the exception of a few notable titles, it was actually kinda barren. Thankfully, Thunder Force 5 fills this void very, very nicely. As with other entries in the Thunder Force series, the core mechanic of Thunder Force 5 revolves around its weapons. Picking up a weapon icon will fill one of the slots in the top left-hand corner. You can switch between these weapons by pressing the L and R buttons. Knowing which weapon is best for which situation is key to your success. You'll also pick up an item called the Craw, which again is also found in previous installments. However, the Craw plays a much more central role in Thunder Force 5. While the Craw is equipped, you can overdrive any one of your weapons by pressing the square button. So in addition to increasing your firepower by default, it also gives you an incredibly powerful edge against your enemies. The Craw will deplete, however, if the overdrive weapon is used too much. You won't be able to use the overdrive until the Craw recharges. This adds quite the layer of strategy to Thunder Force 5 that wasn't seen in previous installments. The Craw also acts as a shield against enemy bullets as well. If it's depleted though, it'll be destroyed. Thunder Force 5 also introduces a scoring system to the series as well, which is perfect for high score chasers. Similar in many ways to Raiden and Raiden Fighters, the faster you can defeat larger enemies, the higher your score. If you can defeat an enemy exceptionally fast, you can get a multiplier of 16. Again, knowing what weapon is right for the job will get you the highest score. Skilled players can also use excess Craws and weapon pickups for additional bonuses as well. Each one will net you 10,000 points, so a skilled player who doesn't die and picks up a bunch of power-ups will get a much higher score. I could only imagine how high a skilled player could score if I can get a score like this. But probably the niftiest refinement that Thunder Force offers is its speed options. All too often in shoot-'em-ups, your ship either moves too fast or too slow. In some cases, you do have the choice of multiple speed levels, but there's often no sweet spot. In Thunder Force 5, not only can you fine-tune your speed even before the game starts, you can make minute single percentile changes in the speed of your ship simply by holding down the circle button. Anything between 50 and 100% is selectable. Otherwise, just simply tap the circle button to go to 75, 100%, or back down to 50. Finally, if you're not comfortable selecting weapons or changing your speed on the fly, you can do all of this while paused. Presentation-wise, Thunder Force 5 is very solid. Much like Thunder Force 3 and 4, you're able to choose the order in which to tackle the first three stages. Not many shooters out there allow for this kind of choice, so it's nice to have the option. From Stage 4 and beyond, though, you'll have to take on a series of missions in a specific order. As the first installment to use 3D polygonal graphics in a 2D style of play, it works pretty well. The visuals don't exactly hold together as well as they could, though, as the models used often jitter around the screen. Additionally, the textures used are large and pixelated as well, and the 2D sprites employed in the game have very rough edges. Even though the frame rate might be solid, the PlayStation version doesn't look as good as the Sega Saturn version, with the sole exception being the transparency effects used in the wave weapon. The sound suffers from being lower quality as well, but this can be forgiven because the soundtrack as a whole is great. But these are just minor gripes. As far as the design choices for the ships, bosses, and enemies, it's pretty much top-notch stuff. You even get to use a different ship a little ways into the game with the sweet blade weapon from Thunder Force 4. The levels are very well designed as well. Each stage requires a bit of memorization as you're being attacked from all sides, but it doesn't take too long to start kicking ass, especially with that sweet free range laser. Oh yeah! Then there's the challenge. Again, it doesn't take too long at all to get a firm grip on the mechanics of this game. And with a bit of patience, you should be able to clear it without having to continue once. Even though you can't change your life stock, there is a rather forgiving extend score. You'll also find a number of free lives floating around the screen as well, and if you do have the need to continue over and over again, more credits can be unlocked with extended play. And finally, if for whatever reason you don't really like the default ship, you can switch it up for one of 3 different ships by pressing and holding either the circle, square, or triangle buttons on the second controller while selecting your course path. They look identical except for the colors. There's the red ship, which has incredible speed, the green ship, which is very weak but has a very fast craw recharge time for special weapons, and the slow as a dead guy purple ship that has amazing firepower but can only have 2 craws instead of 3. It's just one more way to find a playstyle that's right for you in this game. So, when it comes straight down to it, how exactly does Thunder Force 5 stack up? Let's take a look. It took me by surprise back in 2007, and it took me by surprise again this time around too. Thunder Force 5 is a real joy to play. With extremely customizable control, your ship never comes off as too sluggish. Well, that is, except for the purple one. The length isn't especially long, with 7 stages, each of them fairly short. The challenge is very high at first, but with some practice drops off significantly. The visuals are easily the weakest part of this package, with overly pixely textures, jittery, clippy 3D models, and rough 2D sprites. However, the mechanical design is awesome. The sound is also very solid, with a great soundtrack, but it's inferior to the Saturn version. It loses a point because it doesn't sound as good as it should. On the ingenuity front, with its super customizable control, newly incorporated scoring system, and robust weapon overhaul, not to mention the mid-game ship change that makes things feel incredibly fresh all the way through, it gets top marks. Widely regarded as the poor man's Thunder Force 5 because of its audiovisual shortcomings, the North American PlayStation version can be had for as little as a third of the cost of the Japanese Saturn original. With that said, since it's such a great game to play regardless, I highly recommend Thunder Force 5 Perfect System.